Sorry to interrupt the show you're listening to, but I, Jason Soto, and my co-host, The Vern, need to tell you about our show, The Rotten Truth.
Every month on the 14th, Jason and I will take a look at a film the Rotten Tomatoes has called rotten.
And then we discuss it if it deserves such a low rating, or maybe, just maybe, the critics got it wrong.
But Jason, movie critics are never wrong.
Good point. Check out The Rotten Truth anywhere you get your podcasts or our home location at rabbitholepodcast.com.
The Rotten Truth is out there. This podcast may contain adult language, adult situations, spoilers, and some brief nudity, so parental guidance is suggested.
We have such sights to show you.
After about 5 minutes of this movie, you're gonna wish you had 10 beers.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
So, what would you little maniacs like to do first?
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Oh, well. La-di-da, la-di-da, la-la, yeah.
Welcome back to the Cinema Recall Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Cinema Recall Podcast. I am, of course, The Vern. Thank you very much for listening, for subscribing, whatever you're doing right now to support our show. Greatly appreciate that. I am back here right now with another episode of Donnie's Choice, and with me is my good friend, podcaster extraordinaire, former host of Cage's Kiss and Videorama, Mr. Donnie Roberts. Hello, Donnie.
Hello, good sir. Greetings and salutations.
Oh, yes, I like that enthusiasm here. Yes.
We're gonna need it, believe me.
Oh, boy. Oh, if you saw the title of what we're talking about, indeed, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's been a long time since you've been on here, and I know we've been trying to get you back on the show for months and months. It's just been a hassle, but I'm glad you're back on here. Very, very excited.
Absolutely, and same as well. I just wish we were under better circumstances versus getting mad as hell about this movie.
That's true. And I know this movie is a very popular movie.
Yes.
Of course, you saw in the title right there, we are talking about Alien Romulus. But before we do get to that, I have a little thing that I do in the show called Rage Corner.
Oh.
Where I rage happily or angrily about everything going on in the entertainment industry. And if there's anything that you want to get off your chest about movies, and it could be a happy thought, these are not angry thoughts at all, please share that with us.
Honestly, it's going to relate a lot to what we're going to be talking about here. I really, really hate how Hollywood, they've gone from remakes to soft reboots to reimaginings to the point now that it feels like a lot of films, especially like this one, are just like Star Tours. If you remember that ride in Disneyland, it's just a theme park ride they sit you down in and show you a whole bunch of highlights and make it look like an actiony thing for 5 minutes where you get super excited because you're being shaken in your seat and you're like, oh, wow, look, hey, there's Luke Skywalker. Oh, it's the Death Star. Oh my God, we blew it up just like in the movie. And then it's over with. And then afterward, people are just excited about it. It's like, wow, that was a really fun experience. But they will never talk about anything else to do with it. There's nothing that will linger with you. There's no substance there. It's just all highlight reel bullshit. And as soon as it's done with, just like this movie, nobody's going to be talking about how amazing this movie was. And a lot of remakes are made that way now. And I hate it because people praise these things. They praise these studios for going back to their roots, and they're not doing anything original. They're just doing their own Universal Studios version of a better substance.
That is a good point, Donnie. That is an excellent point. And I see that in a lot of movies. Like, I know I'm going to get crap for saying this, but the new Deadpool and Wolverine movie, me, that was just memes.
Yes.
The movie, like Marvel memes. Like, hey, remember this character? Remember this character? Oh my gosh, this is funny. You think there's going to be one character, but oh no, it's another character. That's so clever and funny. And every time they introduce a new character, I'm like, oh boy, it's memory berries. Okay.
Yeah.
Tap into just nostalgia. Instead of just doing something new or different. And for me, Deadpool and Wolverine felt very much like a Disney, almost like pussification of Deadpool.
It was exactly that, because it's kind of like, oh hey, look, we're making fun of the fact that we're now with Disney. It's like, you are, but you're taking their fucking money. It's like, you let them neuter you and still try to make people feel safe. Like, this is going to be a fun time, just like the old ones you remember. It's like, okay, sure, let's do that. By completely retconning everything from the second film and redoing the second film, essentially, just in a shittier way.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
I don't get that.
A lot of the edginess of these movies lose the edginess of their original movies.
They do. They really do.
So, I know we're going to have to do like a whole new episode about the whole like requels and remiquels. Like, the thing is that I did not mind the Scream, the Scream 5, aka Scream. I thought that was clever, but it should have just stopped there.
Yes.
Sometimes things just need to stop. Just because you make a lot of money doesn't mean it has to keep continuing on and on.
There's a very, I wish I could remember word for word the exact quote, but David Giler, he worked producing a lot of the Aliens films and a lot of other trilogy sequels and such out there. He was asked what his thoughts were on the Alien franchise, and the comment he said was something to the equivalence of, at a point it becomes like collecting used condoms every time you have sex and putting them on your headboard. He's like, after a while it just becomes this gross thing that you should throw away. And it's like, that is so true of, like, especially things like the Terminator series. I mean, my God, how many times can they fuck this up? And you look at it like, this is such a simple premise. How can you fuck it up? And same thing with Aliens. How can you fuck this up?
The thing with the Terminator, the best thing about the Terminator after the movies was that TV show, the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Yeah, which nobody watched.
I know it. I thought that was absolutely perfect way to do the lore of Terminator and have it be just that. But after the failure of like Terminator, like I think it was Rise of the Machines and Genesis, I thought for sure after Genesis they were going to cancel that one. But then they do that same bullshit thing where they're like, you know what, we're going to ignore those other sequels. Yeah. And we're going to continue it after the second one. I'm like, don't do that bullshit, all right?
Yeah, it's like the rant I had on one of my last Donnie's Reviews things about the Halloween franchise reboot.
Yeah.
It's like, that, if they had just stuck with the one they did, that would have been fine. You didn't need Halloween Ends and Halloween Kills, because that was just unnecessary fluffy bullshit that just was beating a bloated dead corpse. It's like, it didn't add anything.
100%. I don't know if you heard this, Donnie, but they're going to make a sequel to Halloween Ends.
Why?
Don't know.
I mean, it's the same thing. It's the same thing with the Exorcist Believer. Thank God they didn't give that man another 2 films to make, but they are still making another Exorcist film. And I wish they would stop, but they won't. They just won't let these things die.
People just do not learn. They do not learn. That's a really good point. Well, my sort of rage corner is a little more, I think it's going to be controversial. Because there's been recent news about Arthur Neil Gaiman and a lot of his sexual crimes that have happened. I have not read much about what happened, but I heard he did a lot of like inappropriate things to women, and I am not here to defend him. And I think if he is convicted, he should go to jail and all that stuff. And I totally support the women. But I'm seeing these posts from friends of mine who are taking a lot of the books they love by Neil Gaiman and throwing them away. They're like, I can't read stuff anymore. And I get that. I did that for your own personal choice, and I respect that. I just don't think you need to post about it.
No.
And make others feel ashamed or guilty for having this stuff around. Because, hey, I still like Coraline.
Yeah.
I think he was involved in the Sandman, and I know a lot of people really love Sandman, American Gods, and I totally believe that you can still like the art, but not necessarily the artist.
Exactly. You got to separate the art from the artist. And it's the same thing with a lot of things, like James Woods. A lot of people don't realize this. He produced, or he was one of the producers on Oppenheimer. But because of his politics, they had him remove his name from that because they were afraid there would be political backlash. And
it's so weird.
Yeah, but it's just people. I mean, even if you remember recently, Michael Jackson, when that documentary came out about him, it's like, okay, we're going to stop playing all of his music on the radios. We're going to stop selling his CDs, all this stuff. Almost not even a half year later, it's all back because it's just temporary hate that people get on, and then they just forget about it and move on to the next thing. And that's what a lot of people seem to be doing.
I feel like a lot of great art is made by really horrible people sometimes.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't have to like the person. Like, I think Roman Polanski is a criminal, but Chinatown is a masterpiece.
Absolutely, yeah. And
right?
again, it's like you can say he's an absolute piece of shit. The guy made some good movies, but it's not the same to me as like when a famous lady in MLB said, before he went crazy, Hitler was a genius. It's like that's an entirely different field there. It's like you can't say shit like that and say, well, Roman Polanski did all these people, but he did make a good movie. It's like it doesn't hold the same weight, but you can still hate the guy for being a piece of shit.
And that's my thing too. Like, just because you throw away art from someone else, I kind of feel like the people who were like harassed or sexually assaulted by this one person, I don't think they are going to see you throwing away the person's art, going, "Oh my gosh, you threw away his art. I feel so much better now." I think they're not going to care.
No, and honestly, people were really divided, and an ex of mine, she and I had conversations many times about this. When it came out that J.K. Rowling was transphobic and such, they were very much about, I'm not going to support Harry Potter and the Harry Potter verse, anything like that at all, because that gives her more money than she already has and more than she needs. And I just can't love that series anymore, even though I loved it when I was growing up. And they tried to making excuses saying, well, now I'm older, it's not as good, it's really shitty, it's stupid, I don't agree with the characters. And for me, it's like, I understand where people are coming at with stuff like that, but at the same time, I feel like if you embrace something, if you read a book series or a movie, if a movie touched you like Star Wars did, if it affected you in your life in a way that impacted you positively, don't throw that away because you hate that person. It's like, you can hate the person, but still continue to love what it was that you embraced, that spoke to you. Yeah. And that's what a lot of Gaiman's work did to a lot of people. It's like people really got close to that. And especially the Sandman series. That's a great series of comics that he did. And the show itself they did on, I think it was Amazon. Or Netflix. It was a good show. And if you enjoyed it, keep enjoying it. Don't let their life affect your enjoyment of that thing.
I feel like people teach people as like one action, like they're one bad thing, and suddenly that goes to everything that they've done. And I think human beings are much more complex, and there's good and bad sides to all of us. And as much as we want to have a society where everyone is perfect or nice, that's just not the way it is. So yeah, just that's my little rant right there. So I'm not going to throw away any of my books or CDs or movies from quote unquote problematic people. It's because I like the movies. And nothing about their crimes is in the art that I enjoy.
No. And Ridley Scott made Blade Runner and Alien, and I can excuse the fact he keeps producing and making pieces of shit now.
Exactly. And sits behind them. Well, that's a great sort of segue into our discussion about Alien Romulus. But before we do that, I want to play a quick ad spot from another podcast show, and then we'll get into our conversation about Alien Romulus.
We got to take a short break. But Cinema Recall will be right back after these ad spots.
It's time to feel the rage. Join us on Film Rage, where we talk movies, current releases, coming attractions, streaming, and classic films as well. Directors and actors, beware, as you cannot hide from the rage. My name is Bryce, and I'm part of the Film Rage crew, which also includes Jim.
Hey.
And Murray.
Yo. Why is it you always talk all the time? I can't understand why your voice is so...
This is the Merman, the voice of reason. These two can't agree on anything most of the time. Some movies are mondo, some are just suck. Every week something is going to make us rage. Join us every Wednesday and
feel the rage.
Get access to episodes early, uncut video footage, and bonus shows by becoming a Patreon member. Go to patreon.com/cinemarecallpod. And for just $3 a month, you will help support our independent podcast. Thank you so much. And now, back to the show.
Alien Romulus. They hunt. They breed. They kill. In 10 days. Oh my God. Once they grab hold, they never let go. Alien Romulus. Rated R.
And we are back. Cinema Recall Podcast. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm here, as always, with my good friend, Donnie Roberts. Well, not as always. What am I saying as always? He hasn't been here for a while, but it seems like he's been here for years or so. So, Donnie Roberts, back on the show. So, your choice this time was Alien Romulus. Actually, it was Alien Romulus and Exorcist Believer, kind of going back and forth between those two. I am very curious about why did you want to talk about this fifth entry in the... Did I lose you?
Yeah.
Are you still there?
Oh, I'm here.
Okay, so what made you want to choose Alien Romulus?
It's one of those, I needed something, I guess, different. Because usually in Donnie's Choice and such like that, we talk about movies that people don't really know too much about or you want to introduce people to. Sure. And for me, it's one of those, when I saw Romulus, I kind of should know by now this is a sign things were going bad, but my sister highly recommended it to me. She thought I'd love it. And a lot of people were talking about how great it is. And I missed it in theaters. So I was like, all right, I'll wait to watch it when it comes out in streaming. And when I saw it, it made me wonder what's wrong with people, because this was not a great movie and I didn't love the praise that this movie was getting. But it seems like when you try to tell people that, they treat it the same way they do as if you say you didn't like Nosferatu, but you cared a lot more for The Lighthouse and such like that. And people just tell you, well, you just didn't get it. It's like you need to watch it again. You need to appreciate what they were trying to do. And it's like, no, this was a piece of shit.
That's weird thing too, Donnie, because before this movie came out, I knew that this was directed by Freddy Alvarez.
Yes. Who
did Don't Breathe, which I enjoyed. Mm-hmm. And he did the Evil Dead remake, which I also very much enjoyed.
Absolutely.
And so he had a good track record.
Yeah.
And I saw trailers for this. I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be cool.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to go back to the old school of aliens, just having one alien and a bunch of, like, young actors on there. And I was, like, super excited to watch this. I thought this is going to be great. And then the movie starts.
Exactly.
And here's the thing, too. And I'm kind of going through my notes on this one, so I have the cast up here right now. Alien Romulus stars Kaylee Spaney, who is just recently in Civil War, and we got David Johnson, Trevor Newland, Alien Wu, None of these actors I know, but I'm sure all of our young people know them because they're probably heavily influencers, and I'm just an old guy that doesn't know everything. But here's the thing, too, folks. When the movie begins, and I wrote down this character's name here. So, Kaylee Spinney, she plays Rain, and her and this android of hers, named Andy, played by David Johnson, they are living in this. What do you call it here, Donnie? This post-apocalyptic world. Post-apocalyptic world. I can't talk
It's
today.
supposed to be, but because they're redoing the alien world building, it's a mining planet that is run by the evil overseers of Weyland-Yutani. It's like this is basically a slave colony where you're just forced to work your whole life away dying in a mine.
Okay, well, I wish they would explain that a little bit more. Yeah. And that's one of the issues I have with this movie is that there's no explanation about why these characters want to leave.
Yeah.
I get the look is very desolate. It seems very depressing. And I know that their character, Kaylee Spinney's character, is trying to escape from this area to go to another place more nicer. I get that. I just want to see their hardships a little bit more because I thought it was just like a overcrowded airport.
But don't you see the artistry there? There's a point in the film where there's miners going by with a canary in a cage. And Rain is stuck on this planet like a bird in a cage.
Oh, she's stuck as a bird. Okay.
Yes, the bird is her. She's stuck on this planet that they have to specifically tell you has had no days of sunlight ever. And she wants to see the sun so bad. She wants to be free like that bird in a cage.
Oh, and I get that. I just wish they would have shown more of their struggles.
Yes,
all right?
absolutely.
But at least her and Andy, they actually have they have a plot. They have a story.
Yeah.
They have a goal that they want to achieve. The other crew members, I don't know anything about them.
Yes.
I know is... Go ahead.
I was going to say, they give you the vaguest backgrounds on all of them. Like, there's a possibility that Rain might like this one guy, and there's a possibility that this one girl slept with an asshole who they just put in there to be a robot racist, and that's a character we can talk about much more later. But yeah, they don't do anything with these people. We're just introduced to them and told they're basically the new gen of wonderful young kids out there who hate life because they have to work and they want to get off this planet because reasons.
I have no idea if these characters are friends.
Yeah.
Do they work together? Anything. There is no character dynamics or chemistry between any one of them. Compare that to the original crew of the Nostromo in Alien.
Oh, yeah.
And, Harry Dean Stanton and Yaphet Kona's characters, I mean, those guys have been friends for a while. And there's even some, backstory with the other female characters in this. And Sigourney Weaver's character, she almost seems like the new person on the crew in a way, because a lot of people don't seem to, trust her, but she's also very kind of smart. And there's tension going on with them. And it's great. But it builds up those characters.
Yes.
Right when they wake up from their space pods.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
The characters in Alien Romulus, you don't know really anything about them. You don't understand why they're friends, why they all want to have the goal to get away from this planet.
At all.
And the biggest sort of weird thing about this is that Rain tries to leave, but she's not able to get her papers approved to leave. She has to stay and work for several times. But she knows someone else, and they're able to hijack a ship and leave and go to this other ship to use their sleep pods. How were they able to leave if their papers were not approved?
Yes. There's so many problems with this film, and the main thing I have is how Weyland-Yutani, because their weapons specials things that they're doing and wanting the alien in the first place, they're being portrayed now as Umbrella Corp. Like, they are the essence of greedy capitalistic evil. So therefore, everything Weyland-Yutani does has to be evil. That's why this place looks post-apocalyptic. That's why it looks grimy. And like, this is a place you go to live and die. And that's what they do to Rain. They don't tell you why. They just imply, based on the woman talking to her, that they're keeping her there for bullshit reasons. They just made up reasons to keep her working another 2 years. So you're supposed to get from that, okay, after another 2 years, she'll be ready to leave. She'll have worked off all of her debt or whatever the fuck's keeping her there. But it's not going to happen. They'll just say, oh, you got 2 more years, you got to work again because we're evil and you can't fight the system. And it just makes no damn sense versus what they were before, which was a company. It's like Sigourney Weaver and the people in the Nostromo, they were miners. They were going out collecting resources and minerals from other planets and asteroids because that was part of the whole process of that company.
Yeah, it was their job, and they were going to stay out longer to get like a bonus so they could get more money. That's why they went out there.
Yes.
It wasn't about them being like slaves or anything like that.
And something that pissed me off about this that immediately made me laugh in the first 20 minutes of the goddamn movie is them saying, okay, we found this spaceship that's like floating out there and is possibly abandoned. So they're not going to care about that. We can get on there and we can use their sleep pods and we can get the fuck off this planet. It's like, okay, cool. And when they go into space, they find out it's a Weyland-Yutani station that's been completely, somehow, mysteriously, unresponsive and abandoned. And it's like, you're telling me over a Weyland-Yutani world, there's a Weyland-Yutani station they've lost contact with, and they're not going to give a shit about this. It's like, how?
Yeah.
It's like, how?
Exactly. And I know I said this before on like other shows, but my other complaint is how the alien creature was to show up on this thing, because was the alien creature like completely destroyed? And evaporated? But I guess somehow they were able to find like a skeleton remain of it.
It's worse than that, and that's what's...
Or a fossil.
It's
I think
worse.
the whole Jurassic Park thing where they find like a fossil of it and like extract the blood.
The whole thing is far worse because it's just like in Rise of Skywalker. Somehow Palpatine has returned from a space base that was completely obliterated into matter. It's like there was nothing left of that, and yet somehow a huge chunk landed on a planet, and Palpatine ended up with burned, scorched little fingertips. It's the same thing where the Nostromo, completely destroyed. You look at that in the movie, in the first Alien, it is a subatomic blast. There is nothing left of that, yet somehow the nameplate Nostromo survived.
Yeah, oh joy for that.
And we learned that it doesn't matter when Ripley spaced the alien after shooting it with a harpoon and spaced the Queen alien in the sequel, because apparently the alien can survive in the dead of space. It doesn't die. It doesn't need to eat. It can just live. So it became cocooned in space material. And these people picked it up because, of course, it didn't drift at all in space. It just stayed in the exact same spot where the Nostromo was destroyed. And they picked it up, they opened it up, and oh my god, it's still alive somehow, and it's attacking everyone.
Oh, I think this is supposed to take place between Alien and Aliens.
Yes.
And the whole, like, lore of the whole thing.
Yes.
But even so... that many years, because it's about a good 30-year difference between Alien and Aliens, so there's like a good amount of time, and I know this happened somewhere in the middle, so I guess in this whole middle time, this Weyland-Yutani corporation went from hiring people to enslaving people in this short amount of time. What's going to happen? I could see Amazon just doing the same thing too. Soon we're all looking for Amazon Planeteers.
I mean, I can't comment on that as I work for Amazon, but you may want to watch what you say. I'm just,
you're fair enough.
saying.
Okay, I will keep my mouth shut about that. I apologize to our lords. I apologize.
No, you just not lords, just Bezos.
So these kids are able to go up on this ship, and there's I guess a time limit. They have to try to get onto this pod and power it up before this space station hits this ship called the Romulus.
Yeah.
I guess there's a countdown on the clock where they have to try to power up everything. And while they're on the ship, we should mention too that Andy the robot, he can be seen as a little slow.
Yeah.
Well, he can be seen as like a little like slow. He's known for telling a lot of like dad jokes, and he seems very kind of a innocent child.
Yeah.
In a way. All right. And I know a lot of people try to take advantage of that because they want him on the ship because he is able to power up everything on the ship because he's a Whaley-Yutani property.
Yeah.
He knows how to open up the doors and everything. That's why they need that android on board. And they're going to bring her along because her and him are really great friends. And I like the fact that her father left him for her so that he can still take care of her after he passed away, which is kind of a sweet thing. And they have very much like a loving brother and sister type relationship. And that was really great there too.
Yeah.
It just happens to be that, you know, when they do get on there and you get the story about why one of the characters hates android so much. And it's because an android made the choice that made someone he loved die. It just reminds me of that scene from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
Like, a tune dropped a piano on my sister or my brother.
Yeah.
I kind of with the same thing too. Like the android goes, if an android dropped something on someone I loved, I'd hate me too. And maybe there could be like a story where those two become friends. And
exactly,
everything.
but no.
No.
It's like they basically took the same thing with Will Smith in iRobot. It's like, oh my God, you know, they could have saved my daughter, but no, they decided that I was more viable to be saved versus her because they're not human. I hate robots. And
and as they go on the ship, I don't know, you know, for the I know they discover the face huggers.
Yeah. The 3D printed face huggers.
The 3D printed face huggers. And in this one, when you get attacked by a face hugger, you get the alien burst out of you a lot faster.
Yeah.
It's in within about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
There is no build up at all with that. There's no surprise. It just happens with a span of a minute, not even like 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
When they get on the ship.
In the movie, I laughed because I didn't catch this the first time. I caught it the second time, and it made me laugh so hard because they broke their own lore redoing. Because in the original movies, even in the Alien versus Predator series, they tell you that the alien facehuggers, once they've laid their eggs, they die. It's like they just let go and they die. And in this movie, they're like, okay, we removed it from her, which is another issue itself, because in Aliens Part 2, they mentioned that they couldn't remove it from someone without ripping their face off. But this one, life found a way.
Well, they freeze it. They freeze it in this one, which I find to be a complete BS reason. Yeah. But why do they even need to freeze it anyways? The alien, once it's on your face, it's going to lay the egg.
And this is the thing that got me. It's like they even say later on, it's like, okay, well, we removed it from her, so she should be okay because it didn't die. It's like, well, no, apparently not, because she was still impregnated. And it's like in Alien versus Predator, they said those eggs had been specifically engineered for a quick cycle, like a quick birthing cycle, so that they could be hunted down. And it's like, okay, that kind of makes sense. Sure, why not? It still comes down to even like Alien 3, same thing. Alien got inside an animal, burst out within the same day. It's like they rush it along because they don't want to wait. Well, and you don't want that suspense anymore. You just want to get to the killing.
I get the, wanted to go fast with this, but what made the first Alien just so scary is the sort of like, it came at a moment where you're not expecting the horror to be at.
Not only that, they took its time showing us that you only saw it as this tiny little thing, and then you saw them picking up what was a peeled condom in the making of. It's like the skin of the alien, and then next time you see it, it's fully grown. It's like, holy shit. Well, yeah. But in this one, they're now born a face or a chest burster, and then they turn into a wall vagina that leaks acid, and then it's fully grown. So
wall vagina. Oh my god, that was a great part. I don't remember that. But I'm even talking just about the face hugger and how in the original from '79, how long it took for the face hugger before an alien burst out of the chest. And that moment came at a time where everything's very relaxed.
Yes.
In this one, everything's like very chaotic and things are going on. You have one of the characters having to get away from something else, and she seems very distraught, and everyone's like chasing around each other. And I have to mention this too, because when I saw this movie in theaters, I thought there was something wrong with the projector light, because everything looked really too dark.
Yes.
Now, I get that this movie takes place on a ship that's been abandoned, and there's supposed to be darkness in there, but you can still light it in a way where you can see where things are going on, and you can still see elements. It does not have to be shot in a total dark room. And if you are going to shoot things in a dark room, you need to have your shots be stable for a little bit longer than a few seconds, so that people's eyes can get used to what's going on.
Yes. But in space, light doesn't exist, apparently.
Well, because every time a shot happens and my eyes are getting used to the darkness going on there, it cuts to another scene.
Yes.
And then my eyes get used to that, and then it cuts to something else. And it got to be all these like random cuts for no apparent reason. Like, who are you, Michael Bay? Stop doing this shit with the random cuts here. I can't concentrate. What's going on?
I would rather have them freaking bring in J.J. Abrams and put in lens flares out the ass versus just living in absolute darkness.
100%.
But something that made me laugh, maybe it'll explain how come the facehugger had so long, is when the facehugger attaches to that lady, her friend's like, oh my god, we got to do something to save her. What can we do? What can we do? And Rook, who's Ash the robot, decides, let me tell you what happened to this station before I tell you how to help your friend. It's like, let me give you an exponential dump of information, and then we can talk about, maybe I guess you could freeze the tail and take it off her face. And
let's talk really quickly about Rook, a.k.a. Ash. They're using a CGI Ian Holm in this, and I know the director says we are working on changing the AI for the home release. I'm like, it still doesn't matter. It's still doing AI. You're doing the same thing that they did in like Star Wars Rogue One, and put him in. I forgot that Peter Cushing.
Yes.
And so. Seeing Ian Holm in this was just like, why do we need to do this?
Not only that, please finish your point, because I'm about to rant on something bad.
Because here's what confused me too, because I really kind of thought they were going on to the Nostromo spaceship.
Yes,
but it's not the Nostromo spaceship. It's a different type of ship. I think it's like the Romulus ship. So these are completely different, like, androids or synthetics. I don't think all of the synthetics have to look exactly like
the thing.
Ian Holm.
Yes.
Why do you need to use that? I get they're trying to do that to make a connection to the first one. And is it just me, or did the ship's computer kind of sound vaguely like Sigourney Weaver?
It did, yeah. But I can't remember the actress's name. But yeah, my problem with this, and I'm trying to be calm about it, is this movie shits all over Alien so much because they're trying to tie in all of the Alien franchise, because like I said, this is like a roller coaster where you have to show all the highlights from all the films so you can go, oh, that's from blah blah blah, that's from blah 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 blah. So they had to tie in Prometheus and Alien Covenant. And in that they did so because you had the David android and you had different named versions of the exact same android, which it's like, okay, starting out, sure, that makes sense when you're a prototype robot, sure. But in the original Alien, the big surprise was when they learned that Ash was a robot, because none of them knew Ash was a robot. And now they're making it a common thing that all of Weyland-Yutani operations have an artificial life form on board for every mission. So it's like, so then what the fuck was the point of saying, oh my God, Ash was a robot? It's like, this doesn't make any sense why they would do this and make it like, oh, hey, he's the same guy, just different name. So obviously, you know, somebody must have been doing some cloning of their own junk to make him look the way he does versus him being a robot. It's just, it doesn't make any goddamn sense. They only did it for baiting.
It's pointless because no new person watching this is gonna know or care who this is.
Exactly.
And it kind of ruins them going back to watch Alien because they see that actor and they're going to go, oh, he's the robot. So it kind of spoils whatever's going to happen because I would not mind this movie if it didn't try to harken back to other things.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, if this movie had nothing to do with Alien at all and it was about a bunch of kids, they're living in this desolate world, and they find a way to go to a new world, and an alien shows up there, I would enjoy this a lot more. I would still have issues with the way it's shot, but I would be fine with it. Oh, sweet, they're trying to do a whole haunted house alien film. And I know a lot of people would watch this and go, oh, well, why did they not just call it Alien or something like that? Because it's clearly a ripoff of Aliens. I'm like, guess what, fuckers? A lot of movies rip off other movies too, all right? There's a whole world of cinema out there, all right? Nothing is really new much anymore, but you can still take core materials and make something new with it.
The director of this film also ripped off his own movie and just made it an Alien movie. Because if you look at the plot synopsis and what happens in both this movie and Don't Breathe, it's the exact same movie. It's a bunch of kids decide to break into a place, find out they're not alone, and there's a threat there, and then by the third act, it turns into this weird pregnancy, what the fuck am I watching plot.
I would like this a lot more if there are like turkey basters going on in this movie.
Yes, exactly.
Using that.
I would love to see the xenomorph walking around with a turkey baster.
Trying to impregnate other people there. Yeah. That's a great thing. I did not get the whole scene where one of them finds that vagina shaped thing, which I thought was absolutely hysterical.
It was. I mean,
because he seems to be staring at that thing for hours, even when stuff is coming towards his face.
That's what cracks me up. He's like, I'm going to jab a fucking cattle prod into this thing, and it looks like it's dead, and I'm going to stare at this sharp, pointy thing that's sticking out of it now.
Yeah.
I just, God, why?
There's like one positive thing I do want to say about this movie, and that's David Johnson as Andy.
Yeah.
He's probably the best part about this, because I love that his character goes from being this very shy, innocent, type of a childlike creature to like, he gets rebooted, and his mode goes into like soldier mode. And he's able to like solve problems like this, and
now that's
he has that one sequence where a girl is trapped with an alien, and her boyfriend and Rain are trying to get her out, and he says, "No, if I open the door, he'll kill her and all of us."
Yes.
So he's trying to do what's best for the company right there, and it's a cold moment.
Yeah.
But you understand why he does it, and you understand why there's tension between them all, and I liked that.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish the movie would have delved more into that a little bit more than it did.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
but they didn't. Instead, it was just, oh my God, you're evil now, so we have to get this out of you. And it's like, this is giving him, he even says, this is like speeding up his computations. It's giving him all this information, and he feels he can be more helpful now to them. And everything he did made absolute sense. It's like, I'm helping you. It's clinical, yes, but I'm still helping you all. But they all look at him like, oh, we don't like you anymore because we liked you when you were Simple Jack.
Yeah,
it's like we just liked you when you were more easy to control instead of thinking for yourself. Because even then, I thought there was going to be a big thing between him and Rook, because they make it out like, oh, Rook's going to start like fucking with him and telling him, oh, you got to do what's right for the company. You got to do this and that for me. And it's like the way they do it, it's just very clinical. There's nothing to it. There's nothing more there, though there could have been and there should have been to at least create the idea that he's having some kind of internal struggle. Like something to say, like he wants you to get this chip out of his head. Like Data when he was dealing with his emotions chip. And on First Contact, it's like they did something with that, but they didn't do that with him at all in this. Instead, they made me hate him and they made me hate Rook more because both Rook and him serve the purpose of repeating lines that you don't need them saying from other Aliens films.
Yeah.
And
the whole scene where he actually does, shoot the xenomorph.
Yeah.
It says, get away from her. Pause.
Yeah, you bitch.
You bitch. And I was like, oh, there's so much groans. I'm like,
exactly.
There's so much groans and bad laughters. I'm like, you asshole studios,
there's
all
no
right? Don't
reason
do that
for that.
shit.
There's no reason for there's no weight for that. It's like, why is this alien a bitch? Why would you say this? And the same thing with Ian McKellen as Rook. It's like, why are you repeating Ian Holm? Why are you repeating the exact same lines that Ash said when he's like, I don't want to lie to you about your chances, but you have my sympathies. It's like, that was really dark shit when he said that to Ripley and the crew, and that's why they fucking torched him. But it's like, here he's just saying because, hey, remember this? It's like, okay, so you tell me all these droids have this programmed in them. It's like, this is so stupid.
Here's the weird thing, too, Donnie. Help me out with this. So they're going on to the ship that is abandoned. It's been abandoned for years. And, well, not for years, but for a while, right?
Well, the idea is, like we learned from Rook, is that they were out there, which again is another plot hole. They were supposedly looking for the alien, and they found it. And when they found it, they started making alien eggs, and then they made the face huggers, and then they came up with the black goo, and the alien attacked. And apparently, as we learn at the end of the film, there's a lot of aliens on this ship. So it wiped out the entire ship's crew, and the ship has just been listing around without any communications whatsoever to anyone.
Well, here's what I want to say. So Andy's put on the board because he can open up doors and turn things on. Well, apparently, there's a lot more that he can do in the ship. He can control the ship's temperature and do everything with this ship. And I'm wondering, why do they need to go onto the pods? They can just take the ship and, go home. So I guess apparently they can't, but they can turn the AC up or the heat up so that they can walk past the aliens because they won't see you in the heat for some reason, which I just didn't buy. I'm like, okay.
I laughed so hard at that because, like, okay, you got to not stress. You got to be super, super quiet. And then it's like, oh my God, this woman calls them and is on their comms unit. And the guy decides, well, I guess I work for Nextel because I got to take this call. It's like taking a call in the middle of a theater, and instead of silencing your phone, you're just having a conversation.
And I know that you really want to try to build suspense with that scene, but it just did not work at all.
No. And what's worse about this, too, I got to just point out, is that the space truckers, we have to remember this, space truckers from Alien were far better scientists than the scientists on that station. It's like you developed and 3D printed the face huggers, the eggs, and the black goo, and yet you were surprised that the alien had acid for blood. It's like, you designed these fuckers. You studied them. You knew this about them, but it's still a surprise to you.
Yeah.
And at the same time, they didn't think to tell Weyland Yutani about their findings, because in Aliens, the sequel, they have no idea about any of this. They don't believe anything Ripley is saying until they tell them, hey, you guys on LV-426, go check out this possible abandoned ship and get back to us. And then that's when they find the aliens. Like, oh, shit, she was right.
So are they going to try to, like, reboot Aliens now and be like, sorry, aliens didn't exist there because it doesn't match the lore we now set forth for Alien Romulus. So I don't know. The only other part that I found to be really kind of funny, because apparently in the ship sometimes has anti-gravity. Sometimes gravity gets turned on and anti-gravity gets turned on at a very convenient times. All right?
Yeah.
So there is a sequence where Ray's got the guns that she got from Andy in a previous scene. And there's a whole swarm of aliens coming at them. And she has a gun, so she's able to shoot at them. But she's going to shoot at them in anti-gravity field, so that when their acid comes out, her and Andy can just swim past them.
Yes.
And all I'm thinking right now when I'm watching this is that I cannot wait for Vivid or Wicked to make some sort of like porn parody with this going on here. Because it is absolutely ridiculous how much this looks like just kind of jism that's moving past.
It's like, I'm sorry, even Cheech and Chong joked about that, about being an astronaut in space and jerking off.
Yes.
And I'm laughing because it's at the same time, it's like their acid blood would not be creating cyclones in anti-gravity and then just suddenly splash down. It's like, this was just stupid as hell. But to add to that, and something I really want to know why they had, but they didn't have in Aliens, because I guess people, well, men were men back then apparently. The pulse rifles, they have to point out that everything that happens with combat in this is on easy mode, because they added aim assist. So you don't even have to aim at the alien. You just have to have it in the general direction, and all your rounds are going to hit the aliens. So there's no such thing as worrying about collateral damage. Every round, they say, is going to hit an alien as long as it's within range of that rifle. But they didn't have that in Aliens, and it could have saved those people.
Yeah. 100%, Donnie. That is a great point there. The whole aim assist. It's sort of like the participation trophy that you have a young Gen Z kids get. Like, hey, we'll get your gun, but don't worry. You don't have to worry about anything. We're just going to do the job for you. That's all that really matters. We're just going to do the job for you. Everything's going to be just fine. I'm still kind of like... So I had the notes there. And then I did make a note that at the end of this movie... Now, this movie was to harken back to be the same as Alien and be a haunted house film. But at the very end... And they also seem to ignore the other sequels... But the ending is like a remake of Alien Ressurection.
And again, it's why. Why?
I do not mind Alien Ressurection.
Yeah.
It is a way more creative script than this one is.
Absolutely.
A way more. And a lot more fun, too. And you like the characters in that one more.
Even that is something that kind of gets me, because when you get to that point with the weird alien pregnancy and all that, you can tell, like, I know they've mentioned this before, that this film had a hard R version and they had to cut down a lot of stuff in this. And there's one point I know they implied it, they didn't show it, and we know why they didn't show it, but there's a point where the woman who birthed the alien starts leaking the black goo from her tits.
Yeah.
It's like, it's implied that the alien was milking her at one point, because it was not nibbling on her neck when it went down closer to her before she died.
Am I to assume that the alien, that girl got trapped with the alien and they're trying to get her out? Am I to assume that that alien probably raped her?
I'm assuming that it just... In this one, no.
Okay,
no.
I thought that's why she got pregnant or something.
No, she was already pregnant before. But what happened was, they tried. Again, this movie doesn't really give you too much, but when it does, it just glosses over it, because it's all about let's get to the next action thing. They showed you in a video in the lab that when you inject the black goo into you, it quickly evolves your body and then turns you into a monstrous being. So the idea is that that's what happened to her baby that was inside her. It turned into...
So the alien creature could still essentially assault someone even if she's
Absolutely,
pregnant.
it could, yeah.
And then that black goo went inside of her and changed her baby to be this horrific creature.
Yeah.
And I love the fact, too, that after the baby is born, she's like, "Oh my gosh, get away from me, you ugly Satan! I don't want to have kids anymore." It is a great sort of statement about, like, abortions and whatnot.
Yeah,
especially for like teen. It would be a great video for teen pregnant to see.
It still would not do half as well or even nearly as well as The Fly did, though, because that was a wonderful, wonderful anti-abortion.
Oh gosh.
But the whole thing with the baby got me, because it's like, at least they didn't fully rip off Alien Resurrection by having the alien with a Sigourney-like face crying and a vagina on its chest. At least they went and had an engineer, because you still got to tie in even more of Prometheus, because everybody wants more of Prometheus.
Why does it need to connect to those other movies? You do not need to make references to those other movies and have it still be part of the lore in a way there too.
I'm assuming it's because Ridley was the producer, and they're like, "Oh God, we can't tell him we don't like his shit, even though everybody else agrees they didn't like it. So we just got to throw that in there as well."
I really thought that Ridley Scott just wants to put his name on it because he's the guy who directed the original.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Don O'Connor and
Dan O'Bannon.
Dan O'Bannon.
Yeah.
And because to have their franchise be kind of shit on, and I worry more people who watch this movie first, and then they go back and watch the original Alien and not being surprised by that movie, because I got to see it in theaters not too long ago, and it still is effective.
Absolutely, yeah.
I went and saw it with the crowd, and the host of the show came out and said, "How many people have seen this before?" And a lot of people's hands went up who had never seen it before. And this is way before Alien Romulus came out. And I gotta tell you, that sequence where the chest burster comes out of Harry Dean Stanton was... No, sorry, not him. Not Harry Dean Stanton. Why am I blanking on the guy's name right now? Oh, gosh. People are going to yell at me right now on my screen for not remembering who the hell that guy is right now. And I'm going to have to do this. Oh, my God. This is so embarrassing.
Well, it's not Tom Skerritt.
It's not Tom Skerritt.
It's John
Hurt.
There you go. There
John
you
Hurt.
go.
Oh, my gosh. But when he comes out of John Hurt... So many people jumped at that sequence. It's like the whole head popping up in Jaws. It's just
that's. I was gonna say that's something that will always stay with me. It's like my dad passed 4 years ago now, and with him and I every year would watch Jaws, and it was the funniest thing because he would always repeat the same damn thing. That every time we watched it, he would jump at the same 3 scenes. And he would laugh. He's like, "I saw this when it came out in fucking theaters. I know it's coming, and it still gets me every damn time."
Yep.
And it's like, it's the same with Alien and even The Thing, which is another movie I love introducing people to because it still holds up. And people love that. It's like, it's such a good movie in general. It's not really horror, sci-fi. It's all these things, but it's just a good movie more than anything. It's so well told. Well, these movies like this are shit.
And here's the thing too, I mean, whatever happened to re-releasing movies?
Yeah.
It always used to be like a 50th anniversary screening, and I know they do a lot of that for like the Fathom events and movies, but those only happen for like one night. Exactly. I'm talking about re-releasing the movie and have it play for multiple times instead of having just one night. You have it be played at many times, and do the revamping of it, do the whole 4K thing and make it look pristine and fresh. But do that. You don't necessarily need to do these new stories or turn it into a franchise. And look, I know people are wanting to have the same success that Marvel had with their stuff. But Marvel's been around for like many years with their comics, and they've really worked hard to establish this. And look, this type of trend that's going on with movies will not last forever. It's gonna go down or so. Like, remember Westerns? Westerns were like a huge part of entertainment. Like, everyone wanted to make a Western. They were huge. And then the space films came out, and then everyone wanted to make space films. Well, these trends will all die down. And there's going to be a chance for stuff to be done new again.
And that's something I love telling people about too. It's like, if you want to see how big of a leap and how influential Star Wars was, look at other science fiction movies made at the exact same time. It's like such a world apart as far as like set design, costumes, and effects work. And then when Star Wars came out, all the studios were like, oh God, we got to jump on this. What do we have? Because of Star Wars, we had the resurrection of Star Trek with Star Trek, the motion picture. And then Ridley Scott made Alien. And it's like all these films came out because of that. And in the exact same vein that when the 2001 Space Odyssey came out, the exact same process happened then too. It's like great movies inspire great films from artists. And we need more of that versus trends. Because when you hit these trends fade out so quickly. And it's like when you mentioned Marvel set up their universe over many films. And then DC just says, fuck all that. We're just going to start out with Batman, Superman, put in Justice League. It's like you're putting all this out there and you haven't built up anything. And you're wondering why these are failing. And at the same time, you're making shit scripts. Like you have too many people interfering with so much of this. And it's not, there's just no substance. There's flavor. Yeah. There's something there that people can go, oh, that's nice, but you're not going to remember it. And I wouldn't be so mad at this movie if it wasn't such a huge, blatant memberberry to the point, I don't know if you're like this with movies, but because of editing and audio and because I love soundtracks, sound effects stand out to me. And music cues stand out to me a lot. Sure. And in Alien, it's like in Alien Romulus, there are so many sound effects I recognize that they took from all the Alien films and repurposed in this. Like when they burst open the alien meteorite that it's inside, the casing that it's fossilized in, they use the alien scream when Alien took out Dallas in the first Alien film for the laser beam. It's like there's so many little tiny cues like that I'm like, wait a minute, I know what this is. Why are you doing this? And it's just little tiny baits to make you go, hey, remember this? Remember that?
And I know they do that because they want fans of the original go, oh, that's a great homage, how they use this for... And I find that to be a most annoying aspect.
Exactly. Like in Alien, when they keep reusing the goddamn siren, that... Yeah. It's like, oh, please stop.
I just could not get past it all. One thing I do want to mention at the end of Alien Romulus is how Rain is able to escape. So they do kill the alien, and then she's able to just hang on to a rope and just sail away safely to another adventure or so. Hooray.
But
everyone else in this crew dies. Yeah, I don't care. There's no even suspension. There's just a lot of people who are being really stupid.
Yeah, they all were. They all died stupidly. And I just... Oh, God, the one girl that got tailed by the alien, she fell twice in two things that should have killed a normal human being.
Oh, 100%.
And at the same time, we also have to remember there's a Five Nights at Freddy's jump scare at the end of this movie where Rain is outside in space and then suddenly the alien, like, space jockey, Prometheus beast, jumps up in front of the camera and just starts going, blah!
Oh, that. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, oh, really? Do we need to do that?
I have not seen Five Nights at Freddy's. My nephew wants me to watch that movie badly, but
it's a fun movie, but the game is it's something.
Something, okay. That's fair enough. Yeah. I just know about Willy's Wonderland, and I'm happy with just having Nick Cage in that
should be.
Scenario.
You should be.
So I've got no more really notes right now about Alien Romulus because, like I said before, when I rewatched it on Hulu, and I thought maybe I'll see a better version of the movie that'll be better lit. Nope. So apparently it was not my theater.
Yeah.
It was the way the movie is, and I even talked to other people too who say the movie was badly lit, and they're like, I did not have the issues, and I thought, well, crap, it might have been my theater. Maybe my eyes are getting old. I don't know, but I just thought it was too dark. I thought none of the characters have any chemistry with each other.
They don't.
None of the characters have any individual goals.
No, they don't.
Hey, this girl is pregnant by some asshole guy. Hey, we got this guy who hates androids because one of them made a choice to kill someone else. We got one guy who may have a crush on Rain. I hate the fact that they try to make Rain the new Ripley.
I know, and they tried so hard.
They really want her to be the new Ripley. But the thing is, too, is that Ripley was sort of against a lot of the crew and their choices because when they brought back John Hurt, Ripley says, "Hey, he's got an alien on his chest. We can't bring him on board." And I feel like Rain in this one agreed with the crew more than Andy, who was making more sense about helping everyone survive. So she was not a real person.
Yeah.
She just kind of went along with everyone else.
Absolutely. And at the same time, she's also kind of a horrible person because she didn't want to tell Andy that the place they're going to, he can't go with them because the androids aren't allowed there. It's a Weyland-Yutani free planet, so they would have to deactivate him, aka kill him.
Yeah.
So then even when she tells him, the movie ends with, "Oh, don't worry, you and I are going to go to that planet and we're going to live a peaceful life. We're just not going to tell anyone you're an android." It's like, well, apparently, like we learned with Rook and Ash, they all look the same, so there's probably a dozen Andys out there, so they know Andy's an android. You're just going to get him killed.
Once they get a land on that planet, he is discommissioned right away, and she's like, "No, don't do this. He's my brother. I love him." And at the end, she's like, "Oh, whatever. I tried."
There's so many elements here where this movie could have been made so much better. And one of the things I really wish they had done more with, but they didn't. They just set up for one scare because they had to do a trailer moment, was the lady who has the chest burster burst out of her. She finds on the science station a device that lets you see inside of your body. And it's like, "Oh, that's cool. I'm going to take it with me." It's like, okay, you had this. You just had an alien that possibly could have put something in your body. Wouldn't that be a good time to use that scan to look over your body to see if there's something to worry about versus everyone freaking out and saying, "Oh, Andy's bad because he says we should leave her here or kill her because she might be contaminated. So let's instead go run onto a spaceship and crash it. And then I'll scan myself just as a chest burster is about to burst through." Like, you could have done something with it.
Did not even realize that they had the device to do that to begin with.
Because it's something that just happens so quickly that they move past because they're making obvious setups. Like, "Oh, that's something that could happen later we might need, but who cares? We'll just not mention it again." And it's all just for simple setups, just like with the pulse rifles and all that. And I wanted to ask you if you had any version that would have been a better story than this in mind.
Ooh, okay. Just really simply, I just would have had it where you can probably establish that these kids are on this derelict planet and they're forced to work there by, corporations or just them being poor, and they have a chance to go to visit their family on another planet that's brighter. And there could have been like a great sort of like sequence where they do try to hijack this ship. I mean, I would establish more that these kids are very smart and they've been working on this plan to escape and go onto the ship so that they can get to another planet.
Yeah.
And then they discover that the ship that they are attacking is an actually alien ship.
Yeah.
And aliens are on there. And you don't need to connect it to Alien or any of the franchise. It could just be another monster in space movie. And people can be like, "Well, this movie is a ripoff of Alien." But then people can say, "Oh, well, it's a ripoff of Life Force" or other sort of like sci-fi. Just something where it did not need to be connected to Alien. And have the same type of crew there. But also give me good 15 minutes, even 10 minutes, establishing their friendships. All right?
Yes.
Knowing that these people know each other for like years and they've been friends with each other. Just something that really builds them up so that when they do get killed off, I do feel something for them. I mean, say what you will about the Friday the 13th movies, as formulaic as they are, at least they have better character development. You know what each of the characters are, even if they are tropes.
Yeah.
They still have some sort of like goals in there. You got the nerdy girl who wants to sleep with the cheerleader guy. And the party drunk person wants to do other things and have a good time. Just something like that. And I wish it would have just did that instead of what I saw here. because I wanted there to be just more
substance,
better written characters.
Yeah, I mean that's what they did with the first 2 Alien films. Is Ridley Scott gave them backgrounds to all their characters, so they had some kind of idea of who they were, and they could all venture around the ship, and they all got to hang out together. Same thing in Aliens. All of them went to boot camp together. All of them got to develop their characters and hang out together and get used to each other. And it's like things like that really help.
And when you watch those movies, you feel like you've been with these characters for several years, and now we're getting into their story and adventures, and I like that very much. And this one, I'm like, all right, hey, I got me and my android here. Here are my buddies. We're going to go on the ship. Bam. Oh, no, aliens are here. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. And just that. That was probably my biggest issue with this movie, is the fact that I did not care about anyone. And I know I was on a recent podcast, and I know my guests on that podcast really enjoyed Alien Romulus because they thought it was like a throwback, and I just thought it was just complete bullshit with the characters. And I'm lucky to know that I've got other friends that feel the same way that I feel about this movie. They thought it was a complete disappointment. Some people actually really enjoy it, and hey, I am not here to shit on your enjoyment of a movie. If you love it, please love what you love. I'm happy that you're going out there and watching movies and doing all that. Very surprised that this does have like a high rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Absolutely.
Which means I'm probably in the minority about movies, and you know what? I am absolutely fine with that. I have no problem. Hell, I gave Joker Folly Ado a positive review, okay? So I know I'm in the minority.
Yes, you are.
Of a lot of people on that one there. So, and that is fine. I'm not saying that it was a great movie, but it's not as terrible as everyone else has said. So
honestly, the older we get, I feel more like we become like Quentin Jaws. It's like people may not always like us or agree with us, but we make really good points.
Yes.
But I honestly, if this movie could have been made better, I really wish if they were going to go and revisit the Aliens franchise and such, they would have made Alien Isolation into a movie.
Oh my God.
Because just the story that alone, it would have fit this so perfectly to go on, to have them have a reason to go onto this station in hopes of finding out about what happened to Ripley's mother, or Ripley, when her daughter's looking for her, and stumbling upon the aliens having taken over the station, and people running wild and having to deal with the alien threat and other people trying to survive, just shooting at each other. It's like there's a whole story there you could have made into a really, really good movie that fits in that time period that you're trying to put this movie in. Why they didn't do it, I don't know, but it would have made a lot better than what we got with people that we don't care about, and we're not given anything to care about.
Is Alien Isolation that only has like one character? You like playing one character in that, right?
Yeah, you're playing Ripley's daughter, and the whole premise is that she's told that there's a ship of salvagers who found the flight box from the Nostromo, and they landed on Sevastopol Station, Weyland-Yutani station that's being decommissioned. So they fly out there only to find out that everyone is in like survival groups because aliens got loose on the station, because the people who found the flight box went to LV-426 and one of their people got infected with an alien, and the whole process spread throughout that station.
And I think that... Go ahead. I think just the concept of having just one character on a ship of like aliens is a lot more suspenseful.
Absolutely.
Because we are following them like they are us, and they are the only person there. So if they die, the movie's over really fast. So we want to see that one person try to survive all the horrors that happen. And when you bring on other characters, they're like, "Oh, you're fodder." You know,
exactly.
We're gonna have alien kill you off until we get to you.
And like you said, if you had just established 5 minutes even of showing these people as friends, hanging out, talking about this plan and trying to work that out, it would have added so much more.
Yeah.
Versus just, they're Gen Zers, who cares? Let's just laugh and watch them die. It's like, that's why I hate people that have that perception of that's what horror movies are. It's like you can do practical effects, which I know people were all about on this film. Like, oh, there's so many practical effects. Who cares? It's like you can't... A movie is not just the effects. A movie
Yes.
with effects is boring, but a movie with a good story is good. A movie with a story and effects help you to tell that story better.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%, Donnie. Yeah. And what the push you're making there too about the Alien Isolation game, that would have been an absolutely just perfect movie. So I'm asking you this, like, how would you rank the Alien movies?
Oh God. I have almost, I'm not going to say it's perfect,
Okay.
but it's something that came up in another podcast that I love. You have to ask yourself, would you rather rewatch this or rewatch Alien Covenant?
Okay.
It's like that's kind of where I rate this movie.
That's tough.
It's like that both of those movies are not good. And you don't really want to watch either one, but
so not count the first two Alien, because Alien and Aliens are always at the top, so I cannot remove those at all. They're always at the top. I may love some weeks. I may love Aliens more than I love Alien, but those two will always be at the very top. Those for me are just one movie.
Now I have to ask you this before you go on your rating on that. Have you seen the director's cut of Alien 3?
Oh, the assembly cut?
Yeah.
I have, but only once.
Okay.
And I don't know if I really liked it all that much.
I mean, it's a little bit tighter of a story, but...
A little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I still like that. And like you said, even Alien Resurrection, that was still a good movie. They still did something there.
I liked Alien Resurrection more than I liked Alien 3.
Yes.
So after Alien 1 or 2, for me it does go like Aliens.
Yeah.
Then I will say Alien versus Predator.
Ooh.
All right. Then I can even do like Alien 3 and then AVP Requiem.
Oh God.
Oh no! Actually, no. After the Alien, screw this. Alien Resurrection. Then I do like Prometheus.
Yeah.
Then I do Alien 3.
Okay.
AVP Requiem. I probably put AVP before Alien 3. And then after Alien 3, AVP Requiem, and then Romulus. And I feel like I'm missing something else there. But for me, it's kind of the Terminator films. After the first two Terminators, I really don't care about the other ones. Except for that Sarah Connor Chronicles. And I know they're doing like an Alien TV series.
Yes, they are on Hulu, I believe.
Which I will say this, I will give that show a welcome 2-episode try.
Yeah, I just like Star Wars and a couple other franchises, I'm still going to see it. And just like Hellraiser, I mean, even though Hellraiser 2023 or 2022, people didn't really embrace, it was still better than Hellraiser Judgment. And believe me, nobody needs to see that movie. That movie should not exist in this world, but it does. So, I mean, there's always, it could be better than, but there's always hope that we can get something that will make you excited to see this series go somewhere.
And I hope so too. I really do. Donnie, we're getting to the end of our show. I want to say a big thank you.
Oh yes.
For coming on here to talk about Alien Romulus and have us like rant out and rage about this movie. When people hear this, I know that people are going to be screaming at their computers and going, "Well, you're wrong about this." Please let us know what we were wrong about Alien Romulus. What did you like about this movie? If there are any things we missed about it, please send out emails to cinemarecall@gmail.com. I know on Spotify there are chances for you to leave little comments. Do so. We will read them on the air. If you agree or disagree with our takes on it, that's totally fine. Let's just have a conversation. Like I said before, I'm not here to diss anyone who enjoys this movie. If they have fun with it, by all means, be all you can be. Do your thing. I love you completely, and I support anything you want to say about the movie. I like the fact that we can have conversations about this. That's all well and good. As for Cinema Recall coming forward there, if you're a Patreon member, again, patreon.com/cinemarecallpod, you are going to be getting episodes early. So you're going to be hearing this episode way before it's on the podcast feeds because I'm releasing episodes every so often. I do know that previously I have posted my guest spot appearance on Jacked Up Reviews podcast talking about Blade Runner. We talked about all things Blade Runner, and on the Jacked Up Reviews podcast, he separated it into separate episodes, and I'm kind of combining everything into like one long episode for our podcast. So if you are enjoying our episode about Alien, go back and listen to my guest spot on the Jacked Up Reviews podcast show. I also was a guest on the Lambcast talking about my top 10 favorite movies of 2024 for one episode, and then my top 5 worst movies of 2024 for their pick your own top 5. So you can definitely hear that as well if you want to hear more of me. But yeah, go to our website, cinemarecall.net, for any other old episodes that we have. I got some written reviews coming out as well. Donnie, what is anything new with you? As you mentioned?
Amazon is taking up my entire life, but I'm being paid well for it, so I welcome openly our overlord Jeff Bezos. Otherwise, I still plan on getting back into reviews because I miss reviewing and I miss being pissed off about a lot of movies, and I have a lot of movies I need to talk about. So I still got those up over at cageskiss.com, and we are, myself, my sister, and a friend of hers are talking about possibly getting back together to talk about some movies as well for another podcast, so look for that possibly.
Ooh.
And yeah, I have not forgotten my anthology series, The Deep. We will be getting back into that shortly, I'm praying to God at this point. So, Cthulhu willing, we will get into that.
Any chance I could be back on there to help out, I would greatly appreciate it.
I really would love that, and you and I got to talk about either doing a RoboCop audio drama or doing a War of the Worlds drunk, because my God, we need something fun for this world.
I'm totally down with that. That would be excellent, and expect to hear Donnie on a lot more episodes, not just Donnie's Choice, which we're going to do, but we're also going to have Donnie back to talk and review other movies as well and other topics. So Donnie will be back on the show more often, but as always, thank you very much for listening and to watching everywhere, YouTube, Spotify, Good Pods, all that good stuff right there. CinemaRecall.net is our website. I am the Vern. Our guest here was Donnie Roberts, and we will say adios, everyone.
Adios.
Goodbye.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.